So, good evening.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Thanks very much for coming this evening. And thanks for the nice day, the nice weather.
I think you brought it with you. It's been nice since you've been here.
The answer is yes to anything. Thank you. Okay, so our theme is interdimensional relationships and the changing nature of the chakra system. I thought I'd choose a topic that nobody really knows anything about and I can say anything I like. So you have to be the critics. And you're allowed to find questions that I might not be able to answer. So that's good. So we'll have a little meditation just to bring us into the theme. We are already familiar with the map of the world from space. And then there is an inner space. And we need some kind of a map of the inner world. Our life is in a dimension that is an expression of more subtle realms. We live in a light spectrum visible to ourselves, but the source is beyond the spectrum of visible light. And so we draw a map of ideas, and we create a map of images. And then we talk about the journeys into the different parts of this inner world until we can throw away our maps and our images and walk easily and consciously amongst the mountains and the valleys of that level of consciousness where we need to live in our dreaming mind. Not always to see as if we must bring everything into rational terms. But more to be within a space that can expand or contract in an instant. It can enter into the minute or see a picture of immense dimensions. And all will feel quite natural and normal. And then we come back into the everyday, and then perhaps there is a little voice which says, but which one is real? Can both be real? Can we have a foot in both worlds, a mind, an imagination in both worlds? Surely we dream in both worlds. And this has a meaning. And there is a purpose that joins the worlds. For the world that we live in the everyday is not so much a world of cause, it is more a world of effect. It is a world that manifests in consequence of the world of thought, the world of imagination, the world of dreams. And all function because all belong. And to spend too much time in one can be to avoid the embracing, being embraced by the greater vision. And a world which, as much as already has been discovered, as much as already has been written, recorded, there is always the first time for something. And there is always a new eye with a new vision and a new word. For language is not fixed. Expression is not constant. It adjusts. We see differently. We hear other things until the spectrum of light that we can appreciate and the full spectrum of sound that we can assimilate is both a reflection of ourself in one way and yet an invitation to ourself in another, that we can observe ourself even as we enter in and through and beyond. And so we need time sometimes to reflect on this. And the ideas are like food, they satisfy us until we are hungry again. And the menu is always written new for each generation, each age, each era. And yet we return, as if the footsteps that we walk now, we have walked before, but not quite the same. And the world that we inspect and involve is the same world in so many ways, but not quite. And the family that we meet in our new life, and our friends that we recognize for the first time as we meet, there is a familiarity and yet just enough mystery to intrigue, just enough to recognize, to affirm. And then in one way we have the words of our scriptures written. And then it is as if the words that are recorded on paper become a light, that the script is illuminated. It is as if the words become alive and we remember. And the philosophy embraces us and we realize that we are being remembered. How to fit this into a life that demands so much within the everyday, and a world that seems unequal. For our prayers are genuine, our longings are true, our needs are real. And life itself does not immediately correspond, yet it does correspond. And the world that forms is formed out of our thoughts. it is emerging through our motivation. It is manifesting through our action. And as we reflect, do we reflect upon the journey we have come, as if to see the steps where they have led us, or do we reflect upon what is next? Where am I going? For some say that the future plants its seeds in the present, that it makes certain that it will happen. And the great teachers plant their seeds that are timeless, that in time we will become timeless with them. And we can give a name to different levels and different states of awareness. And yet, we all need to breathe the air, to be bathed in the light of a star, to share the journey with those with whom there is a chemistry of heart, and a chemistry sometimes of desperation and need. And the whole of the world and all of life forms and all the essences of life in the forms, they are bound together. They do not need to be told or to know. To be, to live, to seek, all is bound together. And there is nothing that is out of place. It might be a little out of order, some might say, but it has its place. It does not have to know its purpose except to fulfill itself. And yet it is as if within us there is a knowing of these things, because we are created upon the map of the stars and the source of life in the heavens. We are created in the image of this. And yet, how will the universe itself refine itself, except that we seek to discover what is, in truth, always present and never really hidden. We need to know that there is immortality, and then let the word go, because we are ever present, always. We need to know that this essence of our spiritual being cannot be taken. It cannot be lost, it cannot be even corrupted. Not in any way. It can be under a shadow. It can be neglected. It can be hidden. It can be ignored, but only for so long. And then we are drawn again and again. For life has a way of uniting the hearts that resonate and the path of service that invites. For we cannot only live for ourselves. And so we need many lives, many levels, many paths, many ways of looking, and yet all of them are part of the same way. And one does not go higher or lower. But in a relative sense, it might seem so sometimes. And so we are expanding then our relationships between the dimensions, even as we are refining our perceptions, and we are entering into the invitation to receive the information, to become one with the way of self-discovery. Until all of these descriptions fall away, and the pure simplicity of love at work in everything, not just in human beings, but love at work, for that is the wisdom that is revealed through the beauty of a flower as much as in the laughter of a child. Okay. Where I'm living, part of the conversation every day is what was happening on the soaps last night. And what happens on the soaps every evening is telling us about what's happening every day. So that our life is transferred onto a screen, translated through the roles that people play. And so then they also have Big Brother, where a group of people live together in a house and everybody can watch everything they're doing, hoping to see some of their private parts that they forgot to cover up. And that somebody would do something naughty, and then everybody would look away without looking away. When I asked a daughter of a friend of mine, a teenager, "Why do you like to watch Big Brother?" And she said, "It's real people." And I said, "Yes, it is real people, but they're just getting up, washing, eating, arguing. They're not especially attractive. What is it?" And she said, "It's real people. That's why I like to watch it." And then when I see a space, there is a cafe in my town where in the morning a lot of mothers bring their babies and their mothers-in-law or their mothers, they bring their friends, their babies, everything is there. But all the babies are always interested to see all the other babies. They sit on the edge and they look at each other. But I'm not going at the moment, but I used to go to a fitness center. It's history, but it's... and of course I went first thing in the morning. And also all the old boys go first thing in the morning because they don't sleep much, and all the old boys look at each other just like the babies are looking at each other. And they're all thinking, I don't look as bad as that, or, oh my God, I think I'd look as bad as that. And you look at their belly and you think, no, not as bad as that. And so we tend to look around like Big Brother. And who are we looking at? Nowadays, I look at a lot of old men just to see how bad I'm doing, or is there still a little bit of hope somewhere? And so on and so on. Now, if you live a certain period of time, you suddenly realize that you didn't notice that time was passing, because you're always looking in the mirror and seeing yourself. But if you meet someone you haven't seen for some years, you always meet and say to them, gosh, you haven't changed at all. And they look at you, they can hardly recognize you, they have thicker lenses, they've gone bald. And you say, no, you haven't changed at all either. So we get used to we get used to ourselves. And even though we know it's not necessarily the gospel truth, if somebody says, really, you're looking very well, and you say, oh, no. And you think, yeah, good. If somebody says, oh, you're looking very tired, what's wrong with you? Yeah. I want to say, I know I'm looking a bit tired, but don't write me off. And I did have one student, very beautiful, very rather thin person, whose eyes, the mascara around the eyes had been permanently put on. So she looked down at me and she said, I enjoy your work so much, and when you die, will you continue please to watch over me? The first time I've had that more than once, but the first time I heard that, I said, is this a prediction? And then immediately she said, oh, no. And but I understood what she meant. Well, what she could have meant. One is, die. Quick. Don't like to see you, but watch over me. Or, that we all want we meet people with whom we feel a certain safety, a certain support, and we all want a guardian angel. We all have a guardian angel, but we don't we believe it, but we would like more. And we'd like to feel somebody is going to watch over us. I would say it's not just that, we actually need to feel that somebody is watching over us. So I have a friend who's older than me, and she's written her will already a little while ago, and she said, the problem with my will is that a number of people who were in my will have died. So I'm constantly having to update my will, saying, okay, they've already gone. I was going to die first and leave something to them. Now they've gone, I have to. And so we amuse ourselves over, who do you have in your will that has already gone to heaven? And I said, don't worry. We'll go together. And I said it in a very casual, offhand way, and she grabbed onto it. Oh, that would be wonderful, she said. And then I regretted I'd said it. She looks like she might go any day, actually. And so she has a problem. She goes to a doctor. I pray for the doctor. And every year at Christmas, she gives me a diary for the new year. And I think that's an affirmation, isn't it? But she gives me the diary, so she expects her name to be in it also. Anyway, so that's just to say hello and welcome to this evening, and check your pulse and where I'm living, they're preoccupied with what they call the National Health Service, and so in one of the satirical magazines, there's a little cartoon on the National Health, and there is the matron saying to the patient, "Yes, we are giving in our health service now, we are giving the patient more opportunity to make their own choices. Would you like your life-saving operation in 18 months or in 3 years?" And then when I don't often go to a football match, but I see the match of the day on television. And there are maybe 60,000 people at a big match. And I think every one of those has got many lifetimes. Every one of those got a guardian angel sitting at the football match. Every one of those has got karma. Yeah, their karma is to go to football matches. And every one of those has got a whole network of family, of generations, of everything. Gesundheit. And so every single one of them at a certain point in time, maybe measured in a different way than we think of time now, they will all become enlightened. Every single one of these 60,000 people at the football match will become enlightened and will go off to the stars. Every one of them will be awakened to their multidimensional self. Every one of them will meet the luminous beings that guard and guide mankind through the hierarchies of the angelic orders. Every one of them will realize that there was not a moment when all of this was not available. There are no secrets. It seems very secret, doesn't it? But it's no secrets. And every one of them will see that not a single thought is wasted, that it is not in some way recorded or registered or remains. It doesn't just turn into nothing. It remains. The thoughts go up and they are used. I can't imagine how so many thoughts are used for anything. But they are used by the higher beings. Thought itself is a substance that can be used interdimensionally for the purposes of creation. So, if we want to if we want to draw a diagram, and we say this is our conscious mind, which is really our five-sense mind more than anything. And we have our subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is very good with maps. How to get there, how to get back. Railway timetables. Yes. And it's an area where, which I believe, I feel, in certain gifted autistic children, that they can calculate and do amazing things, because it's a mind which is capable of seeing immediately and knowing how many, and being able to calculate the numbers, not like a calculator, but by knowing, because the very nature of existence is a mathematical existence, that everything has a symbol. Everything is related to certain consistent states of order, of measure. And this mind, just our subconscious mind, can link into that. So that some people can sit down and hear a piece of music and just play it. And they didn't have to learn the piano. But if you read the biography of Yehudi Menuhin, who was such a prodigy, such an incredibly gifted child, and then when he began to go towards his maturity, he had to actually learn to play the violin consciously. He had to learn to use his regular personality to get in touch with his instrument. Well, of course he did. But that's when he also met B.K.S. Iyengar, the great Indian yogi, who helped him with amongst other things, with just keeping his body in reasonable order, because playing the violin has got to, it's very demanding. I worked in London in the first whole food shop, which was in Baker Street, not far from Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson's address. 221 Baker Street, yes, was in Baker Street. First whole food store certainly in Britain, in London. And Yehudi Menuhin opened it, he inaugurated it. There was a great plaque on the wall. So he very much supported all of these things. And in a way, perhaps we've all been so gifted, and now we have to come back and learn how to do it ourselves. We are. There is the essence of genius within everyone, and then it has to become conscious and voluntary, and yeah. But not to the demeaning of it all. Not that it's a struggle against ourself or something like that. It feels like that, but it isn't. So we have our conscious and our subconscious, and then we have our deep subconscious. And our deep subconscious has a lot of resource. So that the very nature of challenge and karma is actually to see how to bring the nourishment to fill the opportunities. And when we go back at the end of our life, one of the questions is, how much do you feel you have managed to fulfill I don't know, of your potential, I don't like that so much, but of using your resource. How much have you used of your resources? Did you know that you had these resources? Did you know that you may be human, but you are also a forever person? And so we have the deep subconscious, which sometimes we can only, under quite great pressure, draw something out. And it's wonderful, and I always think it's wonderful, but it's not as wonderful as I would personally like it to be. You know, do we have to be pushed to such an extreme? And the answer is often yes, but not always, certainly not always. And then we have the karmic mind. And this contains the life, all the bits and pieces of our existence here. So that the karmic mind, and that's our everyday existence, our third dimensional existence. And then we have our deep karmic mind. The karmic mind is for this lifetime. The deep karmic mind enters into more than that. We could say it enters into our many lifetimes. It enters into an area which opens up our connection to the stars, to the star systems, to other planets, to other states of living experience, to other humanities in other spheres. That to everybody living there, their life is as natural and as obvious as ours is here. And then we say we link with soul, spirit, and cosmic. And the cosmic is right there at birth. We come from the cosmos to be born, but our life, the plan of this life, comes from our deep karmic many lifetime memory, a karmic memory. And here we are dealing with our resource in the deep subconscious and the subconscious. And
you're referring to mind or memory?
it's interchangeable. M is both mind and memory. We live within our memory and we live within our mind. And memory is not necessarily data or events. It's a state of relationship in consciousness at work. And so my memory does not exist in isolation. I can't talk to you except I also know we have talked many times over many years, and then when we get rid of this lifetime, how often have we had this conversation in another language? And maybe last time I asked you the question. Now it's your turn again to ask me. But I can remember what you told me, so it's all right. Now, so we make a little map, a little diagram, and this spins the wheel, as it were.
Peter, can I ask a quick question?
A quick one.
What's the difference between spirit and soul?
I always think to answer these questions, the answer is a temporary answer. until we can see something better or we can appreciate it more directly or clearly. That in looking at the answer, we're looking at it from as close as we can get, but as far as we are. And there are certain times when we can be much closer and see it more clearly. But Spirit is the divine spark. It's our essence and source. It's totally unique. And it is, in a way, the cosmos in miniature, but it's the purpose of the cosmos. Which means, although it is the cosmos implicit, or in the image of the Creator, it is absolutely filled with the uniqueness that life never exactly repeats anything. And I still find it hard to appreciate that in the winter, with all the snow that can fall, that no two snowflakes are exactly the same. And I don't believe it. But in fact it's true. But I still don't believe it. Because it is extraordinary that every single leaf on the tree and every single human being on the tree of life, very similar, but not exactly the same. So the universe is never a repeater. The Creator is not a repeater. It's always some spark, some originality. Now, part of that originality is that everything emerges within its own unique moment, and then moment by moment the heavens are turning, and the tides of life are moving, and we live within cycles and seasons and eons. And so within these movements there is never an exact repetition of anything. But I think a lot of things are very close to looking just the same, but not quite. And the world turns upon a moment, upon an atom in a way. Now, and then at birth, the key in birth is just yes. It's just yes. If we're going to work with our birth or rebirthing in a certain sense of accepting ourselves or seeking to get to know ourselves, the first stage is just yes. Yes to everything, yes to anything, yes to all things. What have you come to do in this life? Yes. Do you like who you are? No. Do you like who you are? And yes, we say yes to everything. And it's what's it like to say yes to everything? I learned to say yes to all the food that was put in front of me, because if I didn't finish it all, it was brought up the next meal before I could start. Because my father had worked hard and God had grown the food, and there's starving people in the world. and I didn't dare say a second time, then please take this food to the starving people. Now the yes is not a yes that's going to chain us to anything. It's just a yes to the facts of existence. Yeah. And to say yes is then to set in motion then the specific relationship between our incarnation and our business of being who we are, and the nature of our relationships, our exchanges. It just says yes to this. I was going to say to the celebration of life. That's a bit overdoing it in a way. But yes to the inevitability of being surprised, and to be able to be encouraged, and to be to have moments of great joy that make everything else okay.